Some they call it functional alcoholism, but if you know anything about Ben, he's got vision with precision, microphones and a tinkle of derision. You're about to hear what beer can be. It's time for Barley and Me.
Welcome to Barley and Me. I'm your host, Ben Rice. This is episode 164. We're here today in Folsom, California at Out of Bounds Craft Kitchen and Biergarten. With me today, my special guest, local artist Brian Wallace.
Hello, Ben.
Hey, Brian. Good to see you.
Good to see you. This is awesome.
Yeah, I really appreciate it. So we were going to have a person from Out of Bounds here, but then Saturday morning comes around. They're like, we don't feel like coming out on our day off, which is fair.
That's all right.
I think everybody everywhere is overworked, and if you want to take a day off on a thing you don't absolutely have to do, that is fine. So usually my first question would be, how's business here at Out of Bounds? So we're here at the crack of dawn here, 11 a.m. opening time, and we're outdoors. We've got a family. We've got a bunch of people in the bar. It seems to be doing pretty good for 11 a.m. on a Saturday.
Yeah, my guess is it looks like it's going pretty well over here at Out of Bounds.
Yeah, I mean, there's only 2 breweries in town.
Right.
So,
yes.
And this one's the bigger one by a little bit.
Yes. And their location, does not hurt. I mean, it's a beautiful day.
Yeah.
As I came around the corner here, there's a little parking lot that connects to the trails over at Lake Natoma, and it's packed. So those people will probably spill over into here after their hike or their bike ride or whatever.
Oh, it's a great spot. It's right by that. Exactly. Yeah. The only downside is you can't turn left into the parking lot. That's the one problem.
Yes. It is very tricky to get here. Yeah. It does help that I work nearby, so I know my way around. But yes, there's no easy way. There's not an easy way to get into this parking lot.
Yeah. Unless you're coming from, is that, north?
Granite Bay or Roseville or something? Yeah, sure.
Yeah, then it's easy. Cool. Yeah. Take a right into the parking lot. But if you're coming from Sacramento, not welcome. That's what it is.
You'll find a way. When there's a beer at the end of at your destination.
The sign does not say no U-turns. That's nice. It used to say no U-turns, so you couldn't make the U-turn.
I didn't even notice that.
Yeah. So now you can make the U-turn, which is because I think there's more businesses here now.
Right. So makes sense.
Yeah. Is that waffle place still here?
Yes, I think it is. I think the waffle place is still there. Yes.
So, when you got an upscale waffle place, you got to make room for that.
Exactly.
Oh, boy. Okay, Brian. So I introduced you as a local artist, but you are so much more than that.
Well, I appreciate that, but yes.
Okay, wait. Answered. Asked, answered. Who did it?
Right.
No, so Brian, I've known you peripherally for many years.
Right.
I don't think we've ever really sat down and talked like this. So this is fun
not
for me.
like this, absolutely. I think we met at Sam Horns.
Yeah, that's the only thing that makes sense to me.
Yes.
I'm like, we met at Sam Horns.
We met at Sam Horns, absolutely.
Yeah,
I know that for sure.
As we continue our lives, in similar circles that occasionally butt up against each other.
That's right.
We also Cooper's Coffee House, a lot of coffee.
True.
So yeah, and then you are also just you have extra hours in your day that nobody else is allowed to have, or how do you live your life?
Yeah, I mean, the art piece is really it's a hobby, but it is just for me, that's a lifestyle. I mean, that's where I spend a lot of my extra time is doing art, and it's the thing that I like to do. So I don't watch as much television. I can't tell you what the hottest new series on Netflix is because I don't really watch much TV. But art is my thing. Yeah, that's what I do in the evenings, and that's how I spend my time.
Now, as far as your drawing table, where is that located compared to a family area? Is it in it, or are you no, I have my own sequestered spot?
Yeah, I have kind of a studio space in the house, but my stuff's all over the place. I'll work at the kitchen table sometimes, and in fact, that's where I really spent a lot of my time in 2020 doing a lot of illustration. That's where I kind of kicked off my art business from the kitchen table. It started there because that's where I was doing a lot of my art.
Yeah, because that's where inspiration stuck. That's where you were.
Right.
You've got a family and everything like that.
Sure.
You can't just be an independent artist just living your life.
Right. So now I do try to find a little bit of separation in the space, but I still do a lot of work at the kitchen table. Yeah. That's for sure. Yeah.
Yeah, you can't avoid it.
Yeah.
Like I work from home with my girlfriend. We're both comedians. I did the podcast. She's got a podcast now, and it's we have a small child now.
Yeah.
And, we bought a house. There's 3 bedrooms. We're like, great. Office, us. And now there's a kid office, baby, us. What do we do with this other person who needs a place to work? So we have a small, half basement.
Yeah.
That I go down into.
Okay.
They call it my dungeon.
Nice.
It's not
Sounds really appealing.
Yeah. I have to duck until I find a spot in the gaps where I can actually stand up straight.
All right.
So it's very fun. But trying to sort out your career from your hobby, from your family, like those are all separate parts of you and spaces,
right?
And mental spaces.
Absolutely.
And that's when like it starts to invade the other parts. It's kind of hard to deal with sometimes.
Yeah. Creating that division between what is home, what am I at home? The spaces, like I agree. There's definitely a place where the creative work should be done, but sometimes it just hits you and you're, like I said, kitchen table. Yeah, doing some illustration, and then that's where you're working.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Does it ever bleed in, and like, does it create any kind of rift sometimes?
No, not really. Nice. Not really. Yeah, it's my kids are a little older now too. Yeah, like I got my son's 16. My daughter's
they would
13.
love for you to be not around you.
Yeah, sure, exactly. Why are you here? Yeah. So as long as I'm willing to listen to my daughter's, her shows that she's watching on her iPad while I'm working at the kitchen table.
Oh, yeah.
We all good.
That's fine. Yeah, you're good. Okay, good. Yeah, I'm like, man, this division of labor stuff is real tough.
Yeah.
Right now, it's just like, so everything on top of each other. Like, I'll like watch the baby, and I'll do that by bringing my office up onto our kitchen table. It's like, well, now we're eating, and now it's like this, it's just sitting there as a reminder that work exists. And I'm like, this sucks. So, yeah, I was just wondering, since you've been doing this for a while, how do you manage it? And I'm like, it's a question I'll ask.
I would really love to have my really dedicated studio space. When I first got into doing art, I was introduced to a guy who was a graphic designer. He's really my mentor. He's a guy by the name of Dan Harris, and he used to live out in the Delta, and he had lived in like this old Victorian house, and he had this upstairs space, and it was just dedicated studio space. And when I first got into graphic design, he used to I used to be able to go into that space through there was a separate stairway that take you right to the top, and there was a little door and you can go inside. And that was like the coolest place, because it was like, that was a creative space. And that's the only thing that you were doing in that room was creating something. Yeah. And I would love to have that. And I look at like those, those tough shed kind of things.
Yeah.
I'm looking at the same thing. Yeah. A he shed? Yeah, I need one of those. Yeah, I need one of those.
Yeah, I was just thinking about it. We've been talking about it for a while. Like, as initially it was like, we'll make this like a spare living space for like any visitors we have. It was like, it's already crowded in here. But then we're like, maybe we turn it into like a strictly creative space. And like everyone's like, well, we need to get our Wi-Fi out there. Like, maybe we don't. Because that's a distraction. If you can avoid the internet while you're like writing or drawing or recording or whatever it is,
who needs it?
Yeah, it's only a distraction.
Right.
You don't need it. Yeah. Take your phone, throw it away.
Yeah.
Like, and then when you're done, if you're doing a video or you're editing or something, like if you're editing your audio, editing your video, like when you're ready to upload, come back inside, because you don't need to be there for an upload. All you got to do is check your password, punch your thing in, then you can be on the internet. Right. Maybe that's what we do.
Yeah.
I'm like, now that I'm thinking about it, maybe we don't need the internet in that room because it's just a distraction.
A distraction,
Yeah.
Yep.
All right. We're here at Out of Bounds.
Mm-hmm.
I know, I don't think we've talked about it yet, but I know it, you know it. You are affiliated with a different brewery in the area.
Yes.
With your artwork.
I am. I am affiliated with Red Bus Brewing Company, based here in Folsom, California, at 802A Reading Street. For all those you interested in checking it out. Yeah. Red Bus just celebrated their 4th anniversary. Yep. And I've known Eric for a long time. Eric Schmidt is the owner of Red Bus, and he and I are friends. And when he had the idea to open the brewery, he and I worked really closely together on some concepts and some ideas from a branding perspective. Yeah. Yeah. And a lot of fun.
It's worked out pretty well because obviously it's focused on the idea of the minibus.
Right.
And you've got your motor oil can crowlers.
Yes.
And you kind of really leaned into like the Valvoline of it all.
Right. Right. I mean, the
Pennzoil is probably more right.
Well, there's Pennzoil, and then we did 8 different crowler cans that we called the oil cans, and we did just different variations on old vintage style oil cans with the Red Bus logo kind of
and the
married
shape.
in and those were very popular. Eric had a small little satellite tasting room on Sutter Street for about a year and a half, and it was called the filling station.
Okay,
so conceptually, those cans were designed for that location, and were very popular. Very popular. I mean, to the point where people would come in and be like, "No, I already have that one. I want the one that looks like the Pennzoil can, or I want the
STP one."
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, the I know you've talked to Eric before, because I listened to your guys' podcast.
That was so fun.
Yeah, it's fun. It's a great little place, and Eric's really cool. But conceptually, I mean, the branding with Red Bus, Eric had kicked around a couple different ideas on the concept for the brewery. And his original idea was to have a historically themed brewery that would be focused on Folsom history, which I didn't know really. I mean, I've lived in Folsom 20 years now, but at the time I knew a little bit about some of the things, but I didn't know all the history. So I kind of dug in a little bit, and there was some really cool narratives which would have really lent themselves to the brand, I think. So I was super excited about it. And then he comes to me maybe, I don't know, a month later and is like, "Nah, I'm not going to do that.
Cars.
It's too serious. I'm going to do it on a bus." I'm like, "What the heck?" You know, like, what is it about this bus? But I mean, it's genius, really. I mean,
I mean, that's more of his passion, I think.
It really is, and it's got to work for, if you're running a brewery, it's got to be something that you connect to on a really,
And when it's a business where you have to be so creative so constantly, it's like, why not something you know really well so you can like pull concepts quickly?
Right, exactly.
And as opposed to like, we've done 30 pieces of history, but we need to make 60 beers. Crap.
We're out of history.
I'm out of history. I'm like, now I got to really dig into this stuff.
Yeah,
like,
There's and the people who are into Red Bus are really into Red Bus, and not just the beer, but the buses and the culture and the vibe and everything that's over there. And when they did their grand opening, and there was like, I don't know, 30 buses parked in the parking lot, I was like, well, here's some other thing that I did not know. I did not know there was a thing, you know?
This community.
Yeah. But the one beer that I do think he needs to do, and he loves this, you know, every brewery owner, I think they love this. When you say, well, you know what you should do?
Right.
They
always listen.
That's
the nice
that
part, and you see it immediately. That's the nice part, is that it pops right in. The next time you're there, it's there.
But one of the guys, he was a bus guy, and he said, you need to brew a Pilsner called Can't Go Up Pills. And I was like, dude,
that actually is great.
That is brilliant.
Yeah.
I love that idea. Yeah. But we still haven't seen that one yet. But
I feel like that would work really well.
I think it would work really well.
Yeah.
I would like to design that can.
Yeah.
So, yeah. So back to Red Bus real quick. That's my affiliation with Red Bus is I do all the branding and merchandise, anything that, like can art, merchandise. I do that over at Red Bus.
Yeah. So that means I have some of your art in my house.
Okay. All right.
Yeah, I have the African Queen Experimental IPA.
Oh,
hazy
yeah.
IPA.
Awesome.
He has like the placard.
Oh, yeah.
So I snagged one of those.
Well, I brought you a poster today that has all of the different labels I've done on there as well. Yeah. There it is, African Queen. Yeah. So that was a fun one. You know, he says it's an experimental hops called African Queen. I don't really know what to do with the label. Mm-hmm. And the cool thing about working with Eric and Red Bus as an artist is that he really does kind of let me go and just do whatever I want. You know, there's always a little bit of discussion, but for the most part, it's usually, you know, this is my idea. It's like, go for it. And the one with the African Queen was like, okay, well, I'd like to do like a guy on safari and then like some cool animals behind him, but he's like going to be looking through binoculars at a Volkswagen bus. You know, like the concept was like, he's like, okay. And so I did that one and it played out real nice. I like that one a lot too.
Yeah, no, I got it because my girlfriend loves elephants. Like loves elephants. I'm like anything elephant. I always try to find like an elephant thing and bring it back. So we have just. It's always in your periphery. No matter where you're looking at our house, there's an elephant. At least if it's not right in front of you, it's in the periphery.
Okay,
all over the house. It's
cool,
crazy.
Well, that was a fun one. And there's a little VW thing on the side of the can that I drew because we tried. And so I've learned a ton about Volkswagens. And I joke around with Eric. I go, here I go again, drawing another car I've never driven or probably will never drive.
Yeah.
I've gotten pretty good at drawing VW.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
So you're doing that, but now we're here at Out of Bounds. I'm like, normally I would be like, obviously I'm going to pair you with Red Bus, but I'm like, we just did Red Bus. Like,
right.
I can't come back to Red Bus 6 months later.
Yes.
As much as I've gone back to places. Not that soon.
Right, you can't
do
do that. You
So I was
can't
like,
do it.
all right, how about Out of Bounds? So what is your history with Out of Bounds? Do you have a lot of history here?
Not too much, but I do work really close by, and this location is. I mean, actually, my company. So in my professional life, I work in a business park right next door here.
Okay.
So so this brewery site, when they opened up, I mean, this is really a very unique location.
Yeah,
I mean,
it was a hard-fought battle to get this place. If I
think
remember
it was. I think it was.
It was tied to a few different places.
Right, and there was a couple. I think there was a couple breweries that had kind of expressed interest in this location.
To use Red Bus terminology, kick the tires.
Yes, kick the tires on this location. But this used to be like a preschool, and this whole outdoor area was like a playground. And they were coming in here and looking at it, and I was just like, I don't really know how this is gonna play. And then they came in and just started doing a lot of renovation on this building. Mm-hmm. It was probably about a year in the making, and then you come in here and it there's mature trees on the property, and it's beautiful. It's a really cool location.
Yeah, and it's like divided up really well, so like you can have different things going on, different places.
Yep.
But yeah, I think I came here the week they opened, and one other time, and so this is my third time here.
Yeah.
Despite me also. For a while working in the area.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I was here when they opened, and I was here. And it was like, oh, do you want to go get drinks after work? I'm like, totally. We all earned it.
Yes. And I mean, I haven't eaten here in a while, but the food's decent. I like the food here. The outdoor area here, like I said, it's a really cool place to just hang with people. They have fire pits, and they've done some live music here as well, which is really cool. So, it's a great addition to the community. I wish there was somebody here to tell us more about what's going on with the history of it. Because I know I did an episode at the original Out of Bounds in Rockland, which got out of control pretty early. But that's as happens on occasion. And I'm not that person anymore. Often. But it was also like people I'd known for a while. Yeah.
Like, let's talk about whatever comes up, and I'm like, oh no, we're like not talking about the brewery, and now I'm like, well, now we're not talking about the brewery.
right. So. Well, this place is like definitely, when you look at like the Rockland location, this is like totally next level. Compare I've been to the Rockland location. I've only been out to there one time, and my wife and I got the wheel of beer there, a sampler. Holy cow! I mean, it's huge. I mean, even right here as we're sitting here, right? I think there's, I don't know, is there at least there's 12 beers?
Yeah, 14 15 beers.
14 beers on tap.
Yeah.
And my experience here, whenever we brought people here, people always find something that they like.
Right.
And that's kind of a cool thing about a place like this is that, a lot of times, you always bring people. We always end up here with somebody like, I don't really like beer, right?
Yeah.
But we'll find a beer that you'll like. We'll find a beer, and especially at a place like this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Because they do cater to the trend, but they also still do, like, Powdered Toast Man is still around, and that's it's like it sounds. It's like a cinnamon toast stout,
right?
And it's like very, very strange. Kind of nails what it's going for,
Yeah.
So it's like, but I don't think you bring somebody who's never had beer and be like, hey, try this beer. I don't think it's going to be the thing that convinces them.
Right. You sure this is a beer? What are you giving me?
Yeah,
exactly. Powdered Toast Man. And right now we're drinking it's a hazy, and it's, oh darn it, I forgot the name of it.
Yeah, and it's like the one that's at a little angle you can't read. Something Dreams?
It's Grand Dreams? Grand Dreams.
All right.
Yes.
Hazy.
Grand Dreams. Or maybe it's Grande.
Oh.
Grande Dreams.
Yeah.
Which, I don't know.
Large dreams. Dream big. That's what we're doing here at Out of Bounds.
That sounds about right.
Yes. Let's call it Grande Dreams.
Grande Dreams.
Yeah, we're dreaming big here at Out of Bounds.
Right.
So this is like 6.5%, I believe.
6.5, yeah.
Yep, hazy IPA.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of
feels like an easy drinking hazy.
Yeah, kind of like Caribbean. Like it's got a little pineapple, mango stuff going on. So
yeah. It's got a little bitterness at the end, like a little bit of hoppy bitterness, but not like crazy. Like enough for somebody who's like a hoppy beer drinker, but not too much for somebody who doesn't like hoppy beer, right?
Yeah. Yeah. And I've probably mentioned this 9 million times on this podcast, which seems like a lot of times per episode, but I'm going to do it anyway. I remember the first time somebody said that hazy IPAs are not considered beer by like casual people.
Oh.
They will say, "Do you want to go get a hazy?"
Oh,
or
like it's an
a
alternative.
beer or something.
Right.
I'm like, that's not real. That's not what people do. And then like the next day, I was like sitting on a patio, and this group walks by, and somebody goes, "Do you want to go grab a hazy or a beer or something?" We're right by Lowbrow.
Oh, yeah.
I'm like, no, people do say it.
Yes.
Wow. Okay.
It's the alternative to beer, I guess. Yeah.
Yeah.
But I kind of got burnt out on hazies a little bit. But I'm kind of, I'm open to try something.
Yeah, I don't. They're not my preferred
Yeah.
version of stuff. I really do like to go for more classic stuff, which is why I like Resbud so much. Is
Yeah.
they nail all the classic stuff.
Yeah.
Nail it.
If Eric had his way, you probably wouldn't even have a hazy on.
Yeah, but you have. It's the
got
bill
it.
payer.
Right.
Yeah. If you want
Absolutely.
to keep those doors open,
Right.
this is what you got to do. And
Yep.
that's fine.
Right. And this place has like maybe 2 or 3 on.
Yeah, I think they have 3 on right now.
Yeah.
And then the Dippa might be also, but
Yeah. They had Blurred Vision, Hazy, and then the other one is called Bear Rouge, something Rouge. I saw it on the bottom list. We're at a bad angle on the board, but yeah, they have 3 hazies on.
yeah.
So they have beers, they have mini beers, and 3 hazy things.
Yes. So they have 11 beers and
And some hazy things.
Yeah, exactly.
They also have a seltzer, I think.
Oh, so 10
sour
beers. Yes.
seltzer. Yeah.
Okay, and then how are you on seltzers?
I'm not a fan.
Yeah,
Yeah.
low calorie, low ABV.
I know. I should
low
love them.
sugar.
I
you
should
know?
love
They're
them
just
love them
fun.
for those reasons. But
Just imagine drinking like flavored water that gets you drunk. Wait,
Yeah.
that's what beer is.
well, for me, if I'm gonna drink flavored water, I don't really need the booze on it. But I did try maybe it's what I've tried because I've only tried the White Claw.
Okay.
And the White Claw has that no sugary kind of sweetness.
The fake sugar feel
yeah,
and taste.
just not for me.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, no. And anytime that someone tries to do mango, you're like, this is going to be bad.
Yeah.
And it always is.
Yeah. So I've never been really too keen on the seltzer, but I get it. It's kind of nice that there's some alternative things here for people who do not like beer. You know, at a brewery, you can have a seltzer.
Yeah, it's something for everybody.
Yeah.
I get it, but I'm not seeking out a seltzer. It's not a selling point to me.
Right.
But I'm not the target audience.
Absolutely, yeah.
And I'm fine with that.
Yeah.
I'm like, what you could do for me, you could get a non-alcoholic beer made. That would be cool.
Yeah.
Technology exists. It's now like not as secret as it used to be.
Yeah.
It's vacuums. You vacuum out the alcohol.
Yeah.
Instead of heating it out like you used to.
Well, I was at Flatland a few weeks ago, and they did they have a hop water, and I thought it was excellent.
Yeah.
Like and the idea of it was really cool too, because it's like you might go for a beer, but your friends might want to hang out, and you can move to something different and still kind of get that
beer
get those flavors
Yeah.
that you like.
Yeah.
And kind of keep it a little under control.
Yeah. Yeah. It's like the perfect thing. Like we're like, oops, I overdid it, and I need to correct it. I can't go anywhere, but I can't just like hang out and be weird. It's like I'll just grab this. Like it's just an option. Like before it's like, oh boy, I did too much. I should drink this 4.2% beer to ease out.
Yeah, exactly.
Out of
More of the same, but
but less of it.
Yeah, I did like that. It was very cool, and he was selling it in cans to go, and it was really popular. Like I looked around, and there were a lot of people drinking this hop water, and I think it's a cool thing to have up on the board. You know?
I think it's a great option, especially for people who like want to come hang out with their friends, but like, hey, I have a whatever reason, medical reason, addiction issue, whatever. Like that you could still be a normal human being who comes out to a bar with your friends. And it's like there's an option for you.
Yeah,
it's not water and soda.
Right, right. And it does kind of take a little bit of craft, right? Like so for the brewers,
pull those flavors out
to make something that's like not just
flavored water.
They're actually having to kind of make it.
Yeah.
And so, but Flatland and Andrew does a killer job over there.
Yeah, he's a mad scientist. That guy, I don't know. I think he's one of the best brewers on earth. Just the things he does. Are
I
so
agree.
insane, and he crushes them.
He does.
He's like, no, I make mistakes, and then I'm like, yeah, but you correct them before you put it in packaging. Like, you understand, like you taste, you're like, something's wrong here. What can I do to fix this? Instead of dumping the batch, you find a way to make it like an incredible beer.
Yeah.
So that's like not everybody can do that.
Yeah, I know. He's awesome.
Yeah.
So what are the ones do you like? I mean, I know it's hard for you to pick.
Oh my goodness. Yeah.
So if you had to pick.
Flatland is number one. I wish I was down there more.
Yeah.
Just because they do everything, and now that they have a real brewing system,
Yes.
it's like just so much better.
Yeah.
And like more consistent. And they're just good people.
Yes.
And it's a tiny space. They need a huge space. I would love to see them be like
To grow. Yeah.
But also, I know it's not the smartest decision
Yeah.
that a lot of places make. You kind of have to make your bed and lay in it at this point.
Yeah.
I'm very staunchly against expansion, just because the industry doesn't support it anymore.
Right.
Like now it's like, oh, you're selling out. We're not going to go to your. It's just a dumb industry.
I got it.
And like regional breweries don't exist anymore. They're all local, like let alone regional or national. That doesn't exist. Like,
Right.
If you're not Lagunitas, Sierra Nevada, you're not going national.
Yeah.
You can try. It's not going to happen.
It's not going to happen. Yeah. It's
Regional, good luck.
Yeah.
I think Dust Bowl was the last one to do that.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah. We've actually.
Track 7, I guess.
Yeah. Kinda. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I know Rubicon had tried that.
They-
fast
they-
expansion, and it
Yeah.
was
It did.
it didn't work for them.
Yeah, they had to give up almost before they even hit production. They bought
Yeah.
that space in West Sac, and they're like, "Oh, never mind."
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, it's just so I'm like, that's why I'm like, I don't know what they do, because if you go buy a bigger space, people are going to be like, "Oh, what are you trying, you Mr. Hotshot?" It's like, no, it's a tiny space. Let them brew more beer. They make really good beer.
Right.
But it's just like some thing about like people don't want you to be profitable if you're an artist like Andrew is,
Yeah.
or like you are.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
like, what are you selling out for?
That is an interesting thing when you compare the two. Like art is, I used to do before I was really getting into just doing my own art, drawing and painting and more illustration. I was doing a lot of graphic design, and graphic design is was like doing logo design and like commissioned work.
Where your control isn't
it's not as
particularly
fun.
steep. Yeah, where like you have to do what you're told.
Right. Yeah.
And take notes. And you're like,
Yeah.
I don't even like your note. Your note's bad. But you're like, I'm getting paid. All right.
And the hard thing about creative work when you're doing like graphic design work is that people won't necessarily know exactly what they want, and they'll take you down a path, and you'll end up
in the ditch.
in a ditch.
Yeah.
Yeah, you haven't given them what they want.
Yeah, and they can't explain to
They
you
can't
what they
explain to what they need.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I got to a point where I was like, I don't know if I could do this because it's just not that fun for me anymore.
Yeah.
And so when I started doing more art, I was like, I'm just going to do what I want to do, and if people like it, cool. And if not, oh well.
Yeah.
But I think Eric, or Andrew over there at Flatland, he's like kind of that. He's got that creative spirit, right?
Yeah.
He's answers to no one,
Yeah.
right? He's like, I'm going to put some hot water in a can, and we'll see how it goes. And if it doesn't,
Then we learned.
whatever. Right,
Yeah.
right. But the spirit of like just being on your own and doing it your own way is very rewarding.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But other than that, obviously I love Crooked Lane.
Crooked Lane, yeah.
They crush everything again. Just those people that like really respect beer's history and its present. The ones that can just do everything. It seems like they can do it. Eric and Redbus can do it. Like those places that just they don't chase the trend so much. Is like we'll do it because Crooked Lane has an incredible seltzer because they use real fruit.
Yep.
It's not an extract. So
Right.
It's the color. It's not just some clear liquid in a glass. You'll know what's in there because the color matches what's in there.
What's in there, yeah.
So, which I don't see in any other seltzers. Other than people that do like a slushy seltzer where they add the stuff into a mixer. Of course it's going to take that
Yeah,
color,
of course it's
but-
going to be red. It's got raspberries in it.
Yeah,
right.
But it's like this one does too, but
Yeah.
it's like during the brewing process. Let's see. What else do I like? Urban Roots, obviously.
Oh, yeah.
Berryessa.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that's like...
Yeah, you and I are on the same page, man. Those are those places I love, too.
Oh, Berryessa. I wish I could get out there more.
Yeah.
I was just talking to somebody at Beer 40. I was talking to Chris Kaiser, and he's like, they're considered a Bay Area brewery.
Berryessa is?
Yeah.
Oh, because they're just
Barely outside of...
they're barely outside of Sacramento?
Yeah. Yeah. I was like, because I got into a discussion at the show about what is... Somebody's like, is Fairfield Bay Area? I'm like, no.
Yeah.
You can't see the bay.
Yeah. There's no Bay Area.
And there's nowhere in this town where you go and the bay is visible.
Right.
It's not.
Yeah.
Like, that's why I allow Vacaville. Which one's furthest? Fairfield. I'll allow Fairfield,
Okay.
but I won't allow Vacaville.
Yeah, yeah.
And really, it's Vallejo. Vallejo is the end of it.
Yes. And Berryessa is in Winters?
Yeah, it's the town next to Davis.
Yeah.
It's farmland. It's nothing near. It's.
Right.
I'm like, if you want to say they're Napa, fine.
Yeah.
I've driven through there to go to Lagunitas before because we didn't feel like taking freeways. Like, let's take a nice casual drive.
Yeah, yeah.
So I'm like, yeah, if you want to say there's like, Sonora, great. Bay Area, no,
Yeah.
that's
No.
absurd.
I know.
But
I know.
apparently they're rated consistently one of the best breweries in the Bay Area, and I'm like, I mean, they're great. So,
Yeah.
but
I wonder if it's good for like their market
yeah, maybe
position or something like that. Like we call ourselves a Bay Area brewery,
Yeah.
But yeah, you and I are on the same page on a lot of these places.
Yeah, no, I love them.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think if I know I've missed places.
Oh,
and,
I know I will too. And-
Miraz is great.
oh yeah.
I mean, I don't think there's a better sour.
No,
maker in the state.
No.
Well, I guess Russian River is pretty great sours.
Yeah, and it was funny because I went to Santa Adarius for the first time many years ago when Mike had just opened up, and I was really excited to go there. It's in what's it in?
Capitola.
Capitola, yeah. And I was excited to try some of their sour beers, and I ended up talking to these two guys that were back there, and they were like, "Where do you live?" And I'm like, "Folsom." They're like, "Is that near El Dorado Hills?" And I'm like, "Yeah." And they're like, "Have you been to Miraz?" And it was like that was like they wanted to go to Miraz, and I was like, here I am, like kind of going to a place where I think. I really need to be, and they're like, "No, it's in your backyard." You know, like you don't need to come all the way here to Capitola to have good sour beer.
That's how I feel. I'm like, I like Santa Adarius beers, but I'm like, Miraz does them better. I think there's a warmth to Miraz that Santa Adarius. I mean, I went on a rainy day and it was busy, but it was a miserable experience to be there for me. I really hated it.
Yeah.
I'm like, the vibe here is not for me.
Yeah.
And that's. But again, they're a small little space with a lot of reputation, so it's crowded. It's like, but and we had that just a bunch of beer snobs being beer snobs, and I'm like, I don't.
Yeah.
I was that guy. I'm not that guy. I don't want to deal with that stuff.
Yeah.
Oh, the acidic levels too. I'm like, shut up. Is it good? Do you enjoy what you're drinking? Like that's it. Says the guy with a beer podcast with over 100.
Yeah, sure.
I'm like, these guys are too serious.
Too serious. Yeah. You're like, aren't you supposed to be having fun, man?
Yeah, this is fun. This is fun, and it's a story. That's what we're here for. I'm here for stories and good beer.
Yeah. Miraz is awesome. I do love Miraz, and Mike is such a good dude. Yeah. And they just did a collaboration with Red Bus, and that was a fun can to do. It was called Barn Find. It was on the fourth anniversary of Red Bus, so they did a collab with Mike, and they did a saison. That was a fun can to do because I got to do a can that had both the Red Bus and the Miraz branding on it. Nice. So that was cool.
I was like, how'd you guys do that one? Because they're more bike people.
Yeah. I guess Mike got a truck, and it was like this. He's restored this truck, and so we parked the two vehicles in an old barn. And it seems like very obvious, like the design. Like as I'm explaining the design to you, you're like, "Oh, really?" So there's two cars on it in a barn. Yeah, interesting. But it was actually a fun design. It's actually a fun design.
Yeah, and they work together all the time on non-beer things as well. So that's actually there's a lot of fun. They're like, "Oh, here's our relationship.
Yeah,
make that into a thing." Mm-hmm. It's like represent that with a barn with vehicles in it. Yeah. No, it's So we're on the same page beer wise.
Yeah. Yeah. And I have to say, I love Claim Steak too.
Oh yeah,
you know,
and
Brian Palmer is
also a mutant.
Yes, another. Yeah. Like I can't leave him out.
Yeah, once you start down the trail, you just keep going.
I know
it's
I've
a whole
left out
pain.
many.
For anyone we've offended, you're probably on the list.
Yes, I'm sorry.
We can't. Like, this isn't fair.
That was a stupid question to ask, man. I'm sorry.
I mean, I usually go. I don't really. I'm like, I'll answer it today. You know what? I feel like I should answer it today. There's no brewer here to take offense. or like whatever. I'm like, whatever. And at this point, with with COVID realities, my listenership's way down. Nobody's listening anymore. For those of you who are, thank you so much. I see you. I
appreciate it too.
And I appreciate it. And it's very cool of you to continue to support this in any way. But I was like, you're like, oh, aren't you worried? I'm like, no, I'm like, I know how my podcast listening changed, but I wasn't, commuting to work every day. I'm like, I'm down to I listen to 4, and I used to listen to 12. I don't think I'm in anybody's top 4 podcasts, and that's fine. I'm not mad. If I am, again, thank you. But there are other podcasts. I'll recommend them.
Well, we're not going to get into that today,
right?
Because that would just be crazy, right?
No, favorite podcast. What's your favorite podcast?
Barley Me.
No,
of course.
don't do this to me. Don't pander to me. You're an artist.
Honestly, I don't listen to too many podcasts.
Okay.
I should probably listen to more, but where am I going to find the time? As we
That's
talked
true.
about
Yeah.
earlier.
It's a distraction.
It's a distraction.
It's a
for me.
distraction. Yeah, no, you can't do because like you literally have to pay attention. It's every word makes sense later.
Mm-hmm.
Like how do we get there? So many podcasts I have to go back and like how did we get to where I am? And I go back like 6 minutes because my brain went somewhere.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's very different. Listening at home. And all that stuff. Like it's very much you're stuck in a car. You're stuck on the same route you take every day. There's no thinking. Podcast. That's absolutely what this medium is.
Yes.
And I'm fine with it.
It's just conversation, like you said. Like we started. This is just a conversation. We don't know where this is going to go.
Yeah, no idea. Especially when you take away my first question. It's gone.
Yeah, right.
No way to do it. Like, I only have one question, and I can't ask it. So. But yeah, so Brian, you do a million things.
Yeah, I do a lot of things.
So you're Chamber of Commerce, Parks and Rec, and I might be getting the things wrong. It sounds like I might have gotten it wrong, but it's like the general idea is you're very involved in the local
Folsom community.
Yes.
Yeah.
There we go.
You kind of nailed that. We moved here 20 years ago, and I don't really know if Folsom was our first choice. I think it wasn't really our first choice.
Okay.
We knew what we wanted, but we kind of put together a list of the things that were important to us.
Can I stop you for a second? Where did you come from?
So I grew up in Elk Grove.
Okay.
So my mom still lives in the house I grew up in.
Okay, so it's not like you're like coming from like Tennessee, and you're like, where should we go?
And I moved a little east, over the last 20 some odd years, right? Okay. So I lived in Land Park.
Okay,
and I lived East Sac. I lived in River Park. So
I just want to give some history to like where you're considered.
Yeah.
Okay, so you're from the general region.
Yeah, so I'm a Sacramento guy, right? And went to Sac State. And so we were living in River Park, and we were kind of thinking about buying a house. And so we put together a list of the things that were important to us. And our realtor said, "Hey, have you ever thought about Folsom?" And I'm like, why would I go there? Like, I could count the number of times I've been to Folsom on one hand, And we came out here, and for the first couple of years that we were here, we liked it, but we didn't really know it.
Yeah.
And what I realized was that the more I got involved, and I think it also, having kids, growing up here, meeting other families, made this a really good place for us. And so at one point I decided that I needed to get more involved in the community. And so I got on the Arts and Cultural Commission here in the city, and I did that for like 4 years, and then, or maybe a little longer than that. I think it was like 6 years. And then I got on the Parks and Rec Commission here in the city. So, being involved in the cities is one thing. And then the other thing I do is I'm on a nonprofit board for the Folsom Cordova Community Partnership. And they're a social services organization that helps people in need in both communities, Folsom and Rancho. Mm-hmm. And really important to me, too. So when I was in my 20s, I was in the Active 2030 Club.
Yeah, I was going to ask you about that. So
yeah. It kind of so Active 2030 Club is a service organization that's built for young people between the ages of 20 and 30 and 40. Yeah. So at 39, you basically you age out. You get the boot, and they give you the boot, and they'll keep you around, but you don't actually have a lot of say anymore, which I like about 2030 because I think it teaches younger people to have some leadership skills and the importance of being involved in your community. So as I kind of aged out of 2030, it was like, well, now what am I going to do? So 40-50, yeah, a Rotary or something. But I was like, I'll just take what I've learned and try to apply it and get involved in my community and somehow. And it's been a good thing for me to be invested in your community and involved.
Yeah. I always feel like, where do you find the time for this? Like, what is the reality of like the time dedication to these programs and
to like being on boards and stuff? Yeah. It is a commitment, and I know that like nonprofits, especially, they
as much time as you can give.
They won't stop. Exactly. Yeah. They won't stop asking you.
Yeah.
But at some point you might have to say, all right, it's too much.
Yeah.
And I've been on the board at the partnership now for going on like 7 years. I've tried to find, there's been definitely times where I've been able to give more, and there's been times where I haven't been able to give as much.
Yeah.
And it still seems to work. So But it's such a great organization, and the work that they do is so important in the community. It's not one of those things that I feel really like I can't quit.
Yeah.
I can't give it up, And so I had to make some decisions about things like how much can I give? What can I be involved in? And I've had to pick and choose a few, but that's one that I can't really bend on because I really do find it to be very rewarding and very important. The Parks and Rec thing, I'm an at-large appointment, so I basically serve for 2 years, and at the end of December, I may be back.
Yeah,
I may not be back, but I'm trying to do as much as I can in the time that I have, which is a 2030 thing. 2030 Club is an organization that was founded in Sacramento in 1922, so they're celebrating their 100th anniversary this year.
Yeah, I saw the post.
I shared that with you. Yeah. So
no, you didn't. I saw it on your.
Oh, you saw it? Okay, cool.
I was like, I should ask about this. It was not in your bio.
Okay, cool. Yeah. So Active 2030 was founded in Sacramento in 1922, and this guy named Paul Claiborne was in the Rotary Club, and he wanted to do more. And they told him, you'll have your chance, and he was like, forget it. I'll just start my own club. So he started this club of young men between the ages of 20 and 30. You used to age out at 30. Mm-hmm. To do service projects for kids, help kids out in the community. And so the logo for the club was an hourglass, and the idea behind it was that this is your time, and when the hourglass runs out, you're out.
Yeah.
And I just love that about 2030 because it really
makes you focus.
It does. It makes you focus. And it kind of applies to everything that you have. Like, so I'm on this Parks and Rec commission. It's like, what am I going to do? It's like, well, I'm going to do the most I can do in the time that I have.
Yeah.
And the spirit of that is very, it's very true in any kind of service.
Yeah.
Right.
So as far as that goes, I'm just thinking about, I'm involved in none of this stuff because I feel like I don't have time, and it's like kind of a garbage excuse, But I'm not particularly useful on life skills. I'm like, here's what you don't do. Do you want to know how to not do this? I can totally show you that. Which is a skill.
It is. I'm here to teach.
Very useful.
I'm here to teach.
Yeah. Those who can't do teach. It's like, look, I'm not sure how to do it properly, but this is a way that you wouldn't do this. And if you're doing this, you are wrong. And that's like, okay, now you know not to make that mistake. And that's an important part of growth. But where was I going with this? Oh, yes. So I always view myself as more of a people person.
Yeah.
So if I was in your position, I would be more working on like finding people who can do things when I don't have time or skill set to do it.
Oh, yeah,
and constantly linking people so that way there's like a coverage. Like,
yes.
It's like, you need somebody for this? I can't, but
I can find you
somebody. But I know a person who can do the thing, and then or I know somebody who knows somebody, and I'm going to make sure that we have that taken in. Do you do that at all? Do you try to like?
Yes. That is a big part. I mean, there's only so much you can do, right?
Yeah.
I mean,
and the membership, they're aging out, so you got to find replacements,
right.
Obviously.
Yeah, you got to replace. And the club, at one point, when I was in the club, this was in the late 90s, early 2000s, was really big. And it was like, I met a lot of people in 2030. And there were some doers. It's a classic 80-20 rule of anything in the world, right? It's like 80% of the people... or 20% of the people doing 80% of the work, But what they say about 2030 is that what we tell a lot of new members is it's as much. If the more you put in, the more you'll get out.
That's how I feel about most things.
Yeah.
If you're not dedicated to it, if it's not a passion of yours, stop.
Exactly. It's not going to be great.
We're not going to be hurt that you said, sorry, this turns out not to be for me. Like, you tried.
Right.
And if it's not for you, it's not for you.
It's not for you. Yeah.
But like, it's better than ignoring it, like some people might have done in their 20s and 30s. I'm not going to name any names. It was me entirely. I was like, I'm going to get more involved. I just never did.
Yeah.
The one thing I can't do is set a goal, because I will always do the opposite. Like every year in comedy, I'm going to be in the Bay Area more than I've ever been, and every year I'm there less, and I was never really there to begin with.
Well, you got to set the opposite goal. It's the classic Seinfeld, right?
Yeah. It's true, because that's what I would do in high school. Like, I assumed I would fail all tests, and then I'd come in and get an A.
Good. Nice work, Ben.
There's no pressure. If you're like, my goal is to fail. My goal is I'll probably fail this. And then there's no pressure because you can't do worse than failing.
Right.
Like there's levels of failure, but you can't. I didn't say I'm going to be like 20%. I'm like, I'm going to fail this test.
Yeah.
And then I would go, no pressure, knock it out of the park.
Right. So, but yeah, so 2030, so celebrating 100 years. you were going to ask me about it, so I'll just tell you about it. The club is having the international convention. So the club started here in Sacramento, but now it's international. So there's clubs all over the world. And there's clubs like in South America that do fundraising, and it's next level fundraising. Like they're building like hospitals for children.
Dope.
They're called the 2030 Hospital in like Panama. They've done some crazy, like really, I mean, they've taken this to the next level. So Sacramento for them, for a lot of these international clubs, is a pretty special place.
Yeah.
Even though a lot of them have never been here.
Yeah.
So they're all coming to Sacramento in July. And since the club's now 100 years, we decided to do a brew day with Red Bus. And they're going to brew a beer called Standing Tall. So the motto of 2030 is, one never stands so tall as when kneeling to help a child. And so it's got the founder of 2030 on the can, and we're going to do a brew night, and it's going to be a lot of fun. I think and it's going to bring a lot of people out that are both active members of the club or aged out, past active members of the club.
Yeah. So everybody's invited. If you've been there in the last 100 years,
yes,
you're invited.
Yeah, and they get to, and Eric's going to let them, throw some hops in, or like
individual hops.
Yeah, he's like, I made this, have some ownership of it, which is really a cool.
Like, do what you can do. What do you feel comfortable doing here? We'll do it. Can you lift this bag of malt?
Yes. You can look inside. I looked inside.
That's hey. A lot of people can't look inside, so that's fine. Yeah. So yeah, I mean that's just I don't know what's wrong with me. I'm just like I'm going to do this, and I just never do. So
we would, that whole experience, 2030 for me was like kind of set me in that direction of service, which is it's been good for me. And again, like I said, any service organization is going to try to take as much as they can from you. Yeah. And until you tap out.
You have to have your boundary. That's I think my problem is I don't know how to say like, hey, you're doing too much.
Yeah.
I'm like very bad at like I can't do this
most of the
anymore.
time, I mean that is a common problem in clubs like 2030 is that they will burn somebody out. It's like everybody comes in just swinging, and they're just ready to go and do whatever you ask them to do, and it's like,
and then one day they're like, I can't
do this. I can't do anything anymore. I've got zero left.
Yeah.
Right? Nothing in the tank.
Yeah. It's true, and that's what the other member's supposed to pick it up, and like that's just how the program works. Like the more I like talk to people and things like that, it's like the idea of like it takes a village like to raise a child is 100% true.
Yes,
it's so challenging to try to do it on your own, and yet like the cultural idealism right now is that no, you take care of yours, and it's like that's not as easy as you think it is. It's much more difficult.
I agree.
Than anybody tells you.
I agree.
So like when your children were younger, were there anybody that came in and helped you out and things like that?
My kids, we would do like the partnership used to do this really cool event. It was called Christmas in Cordova. And they'd have families come in, and my kids used to come with us to wrap gifts. Yeah. And they loved doing that. That was a really cool thing. Fortunately, the event is kind of taking a different route. I think a lot of it had to do with, right at COVID times and how the event was going to be organized. But I hope there will be opportunity for us as a family to kind of get back to that, because what they would do is they'd bring families in, and they'd set up in the gym at Cordova or at Mills Middle School, and they'd set up like all these gifts, and the parents could come in and like, instead of the partnership, like here's a gift for a 13-year-old boy, they'd be like, here's all these gifts for 13-year-old boys. Which one's the one that you think your son would like, or what do you think your daughter would like? Yeah. So they'd pick them out, and then we would wrap, and then they would go home with these gifts.
Okay, so it's individualized as opposed to like random. Like here's a wrapped thing. Do you think you're lucky enough to get something that the person would like?
Here's a basketball. Yeah. My kid doesn't like basketball.
Yeah, hates it.
Yeah,
in fact.
Yeah. So they would be, and it was like just such a really awesome experience to work, to be with the families and my kids, to see like how big of a deal like this was, and how much of a difference it makes in some people's lives. Like something like that. Yeah, it's so small. Like in the grand scale, it's like all this money, but like for the individual, it's such a small gesture. Right.
It's like here's $12.
Right.
An item, $25.
Right.
Whatever. It's like nothing. It's nothing.
Right.
And yet it's this huge.
So I'm hoping that some of the things that I've done, the time that I've spent, the investments that I've made as a person, do kind of spill over to my kids at some point. Like they see that, and they see that behavior, and they say, hey, like my dad used to do that stuff. How do I do that? I should do that stuff.
Yeah. Yeah,
So.
then you're going to have those teenage rebellions. Like, I'm not going to do that stuff. I'm going to be very selfish.
I'm already getting there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
So all good.
But like, we all come out of it. Like my rebellion when I was a kid was my parents are both musicians, and I was like, I hate music. I don't want to learn music. I don't want to listen to music.
Oh, yeah.
Like, the dumbest thing. The dumbest thing.
Like that was the battle you picked.
Yeah, that's the thing I chose when I was a youth. I'm like, yeah, I'll like, because I like, my mom was working at a church, so it was like, hey, we're gonna have like children's choir and children's bell, and I was like, I was forced to do those things. So like, no, now that I have a choice, I'm not doing these things. And it's by far the dumbest rebellion of all time. Like, my mom is a music professor now.
Oh.
Like, she's a piano teacher.
Oh.
She plays like 13 instruments. She has a vocal range that goes from baritone to soprano 2. It's an insane, and I'm like, no, I'm not gonna learn this. And it's the dumbest mistake I've ever made.
Man, you missed your opportunity to be Ben Rice, the comedian, and one-man band.
Yeah.
You could have been a one-man
I could have done
band.
it. I had there's a banjo in the house, there's piano, there's drums. Like, I remember when I was a kid, I had a drum set. Like, and I was just like, no, I'm not like you. And it's
missed
like the
opportunity.
stupidest thing. I'm like, and now, like, when I was like 22, I started like writing music reviews and stuff. Like, I'm like, oh, it would have been nice to like actually do this,
Right.
But no, I decided not to learn how to do these things.
Well, we learn from these things, right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah, and like my stepdad would like built a car from scratch and like would bring me downstairs to like help, and I was like, I don't want to learn.
I don't want to do this either.
Yeah, just stupid. Like all these things I could be doing now that are like really fascinating now. And
Right.
I'm like, well, now I don't have any manual dexterity because I like actively avoided using my hands for stuff. Like,
I did it to myself.
yeah, I'm like, this is
No one to
stupid.
blame.
Yeah, no one to blame but me. And like that's just like what kids do.
Yes.
And that's unfortunate.
Yes.
Like knowing that like all your passions, your kid might be like, I'm not that guy. And
Kids are humbling, man. I'll
and
tell
then
you.
you find out, oh, I am that guy, and I wasted so many years.
Kids are humbling for sure. I mean, as a parent, it's like there's so many things. It's like, I know I'm not cool anymore. I really know I'm not cool anymore. My kids remind me constantly.
Yeah, no, that's their job. I think is just to really pound it in. Like I know you had a suspicion, but we want to make you very aware.
Right. Right.
Yeah, which sucks because I was a cool uncle for a long time, and
Yes.
now I'm like a dad, and I'm like, oh boy, does that go away? Am I no longer a cool uncle either?
I think you get
man.
to that. I think you're secure there for a while. Yeah, that's
Okay.
you're all
I don't
good
know. I go into a family reunion and they found another uncle, and
Oh.
because I'm like the biggest in my family, except for one guy.
there. So you're like the second coolest uncle.
Yeah, because I have a cousin who's 6'8",
Oh, okay.
and that's so like he's even taller. He can put me up even higher on his shoulders. Like, no, come on, but he lives across the country. I live 6 hours away. He lives. You got to pay $3,000 a person to go see this guy. Me, no, okay.
I'm here.
No. And he's younger, so I was like, all right, fine. He's even hipper, closer in age. Fine, whatever. I'm not jealous.
That's hilarious. That's good. That's good.
But yeah, that was like, oh man, I've had a monopoly on this for like 10 years. And
Right.
now I'm like, oh no.
You didn't know there was going to be, like,
Yeah, because I'm the only uncle that they have that's actually like sibling to parent. Like her husband doesn't have any brothers, and she only has me.
Yeah.
So I had a monopoly until it's like, oh, here's extended family. I'm like,
competition.
no,
There's competition?
yeah,
Wait.
no, no. We don't have
Nobody
men.
told me there was going to be
Yeah,
competition.
and the worst part is there's like no guys in my family. It's all women, and it's like, oh, sure, find one of the 3 other guys. But whatever, I'm over it. I swear, this was 8 years ago.
Yeah.
I'm totally past it.
well, maybe you just aim to be second best uncle, like classic Ben style, right? You aim to be second best, and you'll be number one.
Yeah,
It just happens.
Just happens naturally. Just let it be what it is. It's true. Don't have those goals and aspirations of getting that back. It's not coming back, man. You lost it.
And it will. And
And
then
maybe
it will.
Maybe it will.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's got a kid too, so maybe now he's not cool, and I'm still. I waited longer to have the kid, so I'm cooler. Maybe I don't know, but yeah, I don't know where we're going. Do you need a second?
Yeah, should we take a break here?
Let's take a quick break.
Yeah.
All right. We took a quick break. We've got back with I have a Pilsner. It looks like you also have that Pilsner?
Yes. It's called
All right.
Happy Pills.
Yeah, a happy pill.
Happy Pills.
Yeah. Right. Oh, also happy pills.
Happy pills.
Okay, so it's like medicine. All
Yeah,
right.
it's like
So
medicine.
I figured it out. I was just like, oh yeah, it's a play on hoppy pills.
5%, very clear beer, right?
Yeah.
Goes
It's
from-
nice. The light plays wonderfully because even when we were carrying it out, it was like different colors in each hand because
Yeah.
of the angle of light, which means it's really letting it through, which is very
Yeah.
nice.
Very good. I mean,
Yeah.
it's a good clear beer.
Yeah.
I like it.
Yeah. A little kiss of the grassy, not a big
Yeah.
grassy flavor. to it.
And it's got like a good, it's got kind of like a good malt kind of start. to
Yeah,
it.
it's got like it's not a classic pills. Obviously,
Yeah.
it's a happy pills, but it's like got like a little bit of grass, a little bit of buttery, a little bit of like ammonia type stuff that you find in a classic.
Yeah.
But it's like, yeah, we're gonna mostly it's hops.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's very very tasty. I actually enjoy this quite a bit.
I do like it. And like I said, at 5%, it's like a good summer beer.
Yeah,
And I think they did have they had a lager and a blonde on as well. So, I mean, there are some other light, clear beer options on this menu here.
yeah.
at
And
Out
it's
of
May,
Bounds.
which means it's summer in
Yeah,
California. So, but we kind of touched on this the artist work. You have some recent releases.
Recent releases, yes. So, I have So in 2020, I started BrianWallaceArt.com. Brian Wallace Art, and then there's a website, obviously, BrianWallaceArt.com. So there's a little plug in there.
It's BrianWallaceArt.com.
No, it's not
.com.
.com.
That's the name of the business is BrianWallaceArt.com. So the website.
.com. No, yes. I think people will figure it out. But I started doing some illustration during COVID times, and people started asking, "Hey, can I buy this?" And I was like, I don't know. Yeah, maybe. I don't know how this works. So I started doing prints and doing some prints of some of the work I was doing, and trying to figure out how that works and create an online presence. And around the same time, I didn't have a ton of work completed, but I had some ideas on what I wanted to do. I also partnered up with Ruby's Books, which is a bookstore here in Folsom on Sutter Street. And Stacy Gould, who's the owner over there, had asked if I could bring some stuff into the store, and we can do like a little consignment kind of partnership.
Okay.
And so I started selling stuff at the bookstore, some art, some stickers. It's been really good, and that's kind of got the art business kind of off, which is cool. And so now I'm coming up with new ideas and adding new items to the store, kind of different, a lot of California inspired type work.
Yeah. Well, you know that research in Folsom's history. So
Yes,
I'm
I'm an expert now. I did in 2018. I wrote a children's book, and that's kind of how I got connected with Stacy too. Is I wrote a book called Daisy and the Dirty Dozen. It was a children's book. It was based on a real life experience that me and my family had with a family of ducks that lived in our backyard.
Okay.
And it became kind of a local kind of story because before the book there was a lot of video, and I had posted some of these videos online, and these online videos got some pretty good attention. In fact, even to the point where a news station wanted to come to my backyard
Wow.
to see these ducks. So that was before the book, the concept or the idea of the book came. The videos had people really interested in the videos. Plus, they were interested in these updates I was doing. Like, and now I'm in my backyard again, and here are the ducks. And I would, run this video. And so some time had passed, and it was like October, or I think it was November. And this happened all in the spring. So in November, we're at Thanksgiving. My sister said, you should write a book about the ducks. And I was like, you know what? It kind of does have the natural arc of a children's story.
You were releasing chapters already.
Yeah. So I was like, I'm the villain of the story because I'm the guy who's trying to get rid of these ducks initially, And so I wrote an illustrated
classic style, the villain turned hero.
The villain turned hero, yes. Classic. The formula is just so predictable. I mean, children's book. But the original idea was just going to do like a couple copies and put it on my shelf and give one to my sister. And people started like, hey, you should really pursue this, follow this all the way. Go for it. And so I learned how to self-publish, and there's a big lesson in that, by the way,
okay,
how to do that. But it's how to self-publish, and got it online in Amazon and that kind of thing. And the book did pretty good.
Yeah.
And the cool thing was being able to share the story with like kids and getting invited to schools.
Oh yeah, do readings.
Because I would tell the kids, this is a nonfiction book, and they're like looking at me like, okay. And then we get to a point in the book where these ducks go down the slide, and you can actually see this all online, DaisyandTheDirtyDozen.com. So you can see them go down the slide in the book, and the kids, you look out and the kids looks on their face like, this guy's full of it. This guy is so full of it.
Yeah.
But then at the end, I would be like, all right, so who wants to see video of the real Daisy the Dirty Dozen? And I show these videos, and they're like, I'm a hero. Yeah. I used to joke around. I was like, there was a picture of me. I posted a picture online, and it said on my Daisy and the Dirty Dozen Facebook page, and I said, this is what it looks like. And it's me, holding the book with all these kids, and there's like a couple kids with their hands raised. And I'm like, but this is what it feels like. And it's like a picture of like Dave Grohl on the stage playing like a guitar, and the crowd just going crazy. I mean, that is kind of that is what it is. I mean, it is truly that.
Yeah.
So Daisy and the Dirty Dozen was like my first children's book. I thought it would be my last. The Rotary Club here in Folsom, they brought me in to talk about the book, which was really weird because I was like, it's all adult people, and I'm like telling them about a children's book. But they had a lot of questions about like the process of writing a book and how it got to market. And so then they were like, at the end, they were like, what can we do for you? And I'm like, I don't know, like nothing really, I guess. And I was like, wait. I was like, if you want to buy these books at cost, which means I would make no money on it.
No money, yeah. But you wouldn't lose money.
I wouldn't lose money. It'd be a break even. I would go to the school and I would give every kid in the second grade a book.
Yeah.
And I'll put like, from the Rotary Club inside and all that stuff. They were like, all right, how much does that cost? And so they give me money on the spot.
Nice.
And so I went and did a reading at Gold Ridge Elementary here in Folsom. And I read to the second grade class. And I got to the end and I was like, and I have a very special treat for you today. It's like, you all get books. It was like Oprah moment, It was like, you all get books. And it was like the kids were screaming. They were holding them up. I was like, man, this is
That's
all.
your day role.
That's how you get paid. That's how you get paid as a children's book author. So I got my second children's book. That's the newest one that came out. It's called Winnie and Ruby's Winnie and Ruby's Folsom ABC Adventure, and it's an ABC book about Folsom. And it takes you on a tour of all things Folsom, A to Z. And I had this idea for an ABC book, but it was kind of boring. So I found some cute animals. Ruby from the Ruby's bookstore. There's a golden retriever that works at the bookstore. Yeah. I don't know how that. I guess it works at the bookstore technically. But kids absolutely love Ruby. And then I don't know if you know John and Amber Feltz. They live in the historic district.
Okay.
They have a pig named Winnie, and she walks up and down Sutter.
Okay.
And she's over at this farmer's market on Saturdays. So John and Amber, I asked them, I said, can I put Winnie in this book? And some of the proceeds that we're raising from the sale of the book are going to Bradshaw Team, which is teaching everyone animals matter, helping educate kids on basically helping shelter animals get out to adoption. Mm-hmm. The books, I also am on the Daisy and the Dirty Dozen book is on a recommended reading list with Red Rover, which is another local nonprofit that really goes out and tries to educate people to treat animals with respect. And, that was really truly an honor that this book made that list, because that was something I hadn't really expected when I did Daisy and the Dirty Dozen, that it would reach that kind of level. But there's two little messages in there. It's like, treating animals with respect is very important, because it's how kids end up treating people, is you start learning how to treat animals with respect, you treat people with respect. But the other thing about Daisy was the idea of embracing the unexpected, like things that don't necessarily get dealt to you that are very predictable. Sometimes if you just roll with it, the outcomes are pretty awesome.
Yeah.
And it's a way for kids to kind of identify with kind of that idea. But those were two very, very advanced ideas that did not occur to me in writing the book. So
Okay, it just came naturally from like
it kind of
what
came
you were doing.
afterwards, more realization.
You're like, oh, what have I done?
What have I done? And but that was those are cool.
Yeah.
Those are cool outcomes.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I started a idea for a side project. Because who needs time? Around, during what is it now? 2022. Okay, so
Yeah,
it's
it's
2020.
2022.
Okay, great. So let's just so summer 2020, my girlfriend started asking me to tell her bedtime stories
Oh,
because she has trouble sleeping.
okay.
And so I would make stories up for her on like a suggestion, and like eventually and like I don't have the brain capacity to like wing this, So I would ask her for an idea,
Like a prompt, huh?
suggestion, yeah.
Yeah.
And then I would go write a story. And I'm like, this is fun. I'm having fun writing these stories. you know? And it's like, we're both in our 30s. Like the stories are not children's bedtime stories.
Right.
They're not like horror stories or anything like that, like graphic, but like existential things.
You have some room.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So she had given me one that was like it was like a pink alligator or pink crocodile, something like that. And just incorporate a pink crocodile into it. And the whole thing is like a character study on a guy who's like, wife died and he's alone in his house, and like leaving the house is a struggle for him. So like the first like 5 pages is just him like being willing to get through his front gate. Like all the weight of opening this gate
to get out.
5 pages, and he immediately encounters a pink alligator. Like this was a fun story. It was very funny.
Yeah.
Like the guy's taking his pet pink alligator to like the dentist or whatever. Like just
A lot of build up to get to the pink alligator.
Yeah, and then it's just a wacky experience that happens.
I love it.
Yeah. So I was like, this is fun. I started writing more of them for her, and I'm like, I could probably do this for other people. I think I'm enjoying it, and it's like probably a way to make a little bit of money while we're doing stuff. In the meantime, we were house shopping, which I should have known. Don't try to do this right now. Because in COVID, like you couldn't see a house without pre-approval because like we have to keep it in. Like she's like, let's look at this house. It looks
Can't even look at it.
It's in our price range. Like what we make right now, we could probably afford this house. I'm like, yeah. Worst that happens is that we don't get it. That's fine.
Yeah.
And they're like, oh, you need pre-approval. I'm like, oh no. So I had to go like, well, this is good for 6 months. Like, I guess we're shopping for houses, and that's how we bought a house. Like, we didn't get that one, but like, well, we can't just be like one and done. Like, the approval's there. We already ran my credit. We ran your credit. Let's just go figure out what. I'm like, how much money will you give us? Like, how much do you need? I'm like, that's not the question. That's not the question I asked you. How much can you give me based on what you know about my parents? Like, how much do you want? Like, no. I don't want you to take every penny I have. I want to know what is a reasonable. Like,
Yes.
What do you? I'm like, oh, so I'm like, I'll do the math. Fine. But anyway, so I started this thing where like I reach out to people or I put up a post like, hey, if you want a bedtime story, send me a basic starter. And I did 2 of them, and it was my sister who wanted one that helped her kids through like missing their friends.
Oh, okay.
And it was like a very gentle, like I want something about like being a kid whose school's different. Right? Nothing too hard. It's like it was a challenge. I had to figure it out. And like obviously I know my sister, I know her kids, I know her husband, so I like built them all into the story. I gave them different names, obviously, but it's them.
Yeah.
And then another one, they wanted one about my group of friends that go to brunch together. Like, we miss brunch, but he read a story about us going to brunch. Like, that was easy, Like,
That was easy.
I get to use all kinds of puns for restaurants and foods. I'm like, this is right up my alley. And then I'm like, this is great. This is fun. And then I got 2 requests that I was like, I think I needed to be more clear that he can't be super specific. And that's like a lesson you learn. You can't, when you're like, hey, give me an idea of what you want, it can't be specific. Yeah. Because I got a request for, I want a story. I don't know, I'm not giving you the plot, but I need all of the conversations to take place using 1990s hip-hop lyrics.
Oh, hip-hop story.
Yeah.
Okay.
All conversation must be a lyric.
All hip-hop.
I'm like, oh yeah, that's easy to do.
Yeah.
Structure an entire story with the, let's move it forward using only, like, do you know how much work that is?
Yeah, that's a lot of work.
Like, I have to remember the lyrics. I have to put it together. Like, I'm like, look, I have a bunch of jokes using 90s hip-hop reference. So I get why the person made the request. But I'm like, that's not easy. I'm writing a joke around, like, 1 or 2 songs.
Yes.
Easy. Writing a story that has to have an arc.
Right.
Using various sources is not.
It's not.
I'm like, this sucks. This story sucks. The work involved. I'm charging
It's a big ask.
$40. This is not $40 worth of work.
It's a big ask.
And I'm like, that's a lot. And then another person's like, I want a story for my kids about them. I want a story about a child saving the day through a misunderstanding of language, because we just moved to a new country where there's like a new language we have to learn. And so through misunderstanding, they become the hero.
Oh.
And I'm like, okay, what language? Like, Dutch. I'm like, I don't know Dutch. Like, I have to learn Dutch and figure out where like the word sounds like something that's English.
Again, another big ask.
This is not. And I'm like, I found an angle. I found a few. She gave me a few words that would like maybe help. I'm like, cool. I'm like, based on that, I feel like this is a horror story,
right,
for children. You know.
Well, you're like, what is it? You got to do 6 months of Duolingo.
Yeah.
You know?
And so I start writing, and then I'm like, you know, maybe a horror story for children is a bad idea. I should ask, how do we feel if it's got like a mild horror element? It's like, not at all. And I'm like, fuck.
Yeah.
I'm like, you know, hey, a kid is having trouble with not being able to see their friends. I can do that. That's very wide open.
Yeah.
Like, hey, going to food, great, easy. That's a world of things. And I was like, you got to do research. And I'm like, I'm done. I can't do it.
Yeah.
And like, I told them both, like, do not pay me right now because there's no guarantee I get this done.
See, done.
And they both paid me, and I'm like, please take your money back.
To the spirit of what we talked about earlier, right? To do it on your own is so much easier when there's like nobody else involved, and it's like nobody has any expectations, right?
Yeah.
It's like
and like with my brunch one, I was like, hey, for an extra $10, I'll like record the audio, and you're gonna have like an audio book.
Oh yeah.
And so. I was like, since we all know each other, what if I sent you your words, but they're not in order? So like, you don't know what the story is. You'll not be able to pick the story out from this. And nobody wanted to read. Like, I think 3 of them did their own voice. So I had to do my friends' voices. And like, I did the podcast, so I like have like some basic audio editing. And so there's like this part where it gets really awkward, and I like just started layering people like umming and and it was like very fun. But yeah, it was just like, oh man, I should probably not have done this. But it's just so much work to do what you're doing. Is really, I think, my end point is. Yeah. It's not an easy thing to come up with a concept and turn it into something.
The Daisy and the Dirty Dozen book was funny because the concept was there, and I wrote it on my phone. Like, I literally just was in notes on my phone and just writing this whole thing down, and then printed it out, and then tried to figure out if it could turn into a 32-page book. And you had to kind of sequence it out a little bit and leave things out and make some decisions, and a lot of cutting room floor stuff, illustrations that I worked on that never saw the light of day.
Yeah. It's so much. Nope.
There's a lot of like, no. And, but I did back into the date, and that was kind of my trick, was to really put some pressure on myself, because doing something like this, and this is what I tell a lot of kids, is because kids ask me about writing a book. And I said, what you have to do is you have to basically be your own boss. And that's hard.
Yeah.
Because...
And hold yourself accountable.
Nobody's going to tell you, like, you should finish 2 pages tonight. This is a thing. It's your own thing. Yeah. So my deal is I wanted it to be out on the day, the 1-year anniversary to the day that we found the nest in our backyard.
Okay.
So it was kind of like, all right, I know what the date is, and I got to back into it. So then I got kind of...
I want to be this long, so I got to do this much per...
I got to do this much time, but it started to get kind of, like, stressful.
Yeah, like, the date starts coming closer.
And it's real. Like, you're like, oh, dude, and if I want to really... And when you set something like that, then you're like, if I miss it, then it doesn't have as much...
impact.
Yeah. But does it? Does anybody care?
Does anyone care but you?
Nobody cares.
And does that matter?
It doesn't even matter.
But it does.
It does. It mattered to me. It mattered to me.
And that's what's important. It has to matter to you.
Yeah, it mattered to me.
If it doesn't matter to you, you're never going to get it done.
Right.
Like, why are you doing it if it doesn't matter to you?
Yeah. So my second book, the Winnie and Ruby book, that came out on Ruby's birthday. So I talked to the bookstore. I had the idea in January of this year. So this was a January book. And I said, I got to have it done at the beginning of March, because I needed to have it done. I need books in hand on March 26th. That's Ruby's birthday, and they're gonna have a birthday party for the dog on Sutter Street.
Yeah,
So I'm like, all right, I can do this.
And you're like, it takes this long to print and bind and all that stuff.
Yeah, and there's all kinds of wacky stuff, like especially if you're self-publishing, because you get the stuff done and you send it off, and then you don't hear anything for it a long time, and there's nobody to call.
Yeah,
it's just in a void, and then you get an email one day, and it's like, you did not line up something the way that we needed it lined up, so you need to resubmit. So I'm thinking, so when I resubmit, the clock starts over again.
Yeah.
And I'm going to be, it goes into the nothingness again.
Yeah.
Right? So I was worried about that. And eventually it, I was like, okay, it may be here on the 26th. I'm hoping I'll have books in hand. And sure enough, it just all worked out.
Oh.
But
I was like, it did not work
it did work out. And the pig and the dog had cake in the street on Sutter Street. I mean, it was everything that I would have thought it was going to be and more. It was very cool. That book is, it's been really cool because it's a hyper-local book. I've become a big fan of hyper-local.
Yeah.
I mean, we talk beer hyper-local, right?
I think it's really everything at this point.
It's everything. Because you can't be everything.
If you're doing global, you're feeding into a massive conglomerate at that point. It's like unavoidable. You can't do it without being part of a system that is not serving you for the most part.
Right.
This is a fun podcast part. We're like, let's get it into like real.
We're making it big now. This thing's getting.
This is global.
Yeah. So we're doing the hyper local thing, like the hyper local book, but it has a really good appeal. Like local people want to buy a Folsom book.
Yeah.
Tourists want to buy a Folsom book.
Yeah. For their kids, perfect.
I put it out there into the world on a platform like an Amazon, or try to sell a lot of copies of it outside of Folsom. It's not gonna.
The impact's different.
No impact. So you know what? Control what we can control.
Yeah.
Do the things that we can do.
Maximize your impact.
That's right.
Know your strengths and weaknesses. Your point is, I'm making a book for Folsom about Folsom.
About Folsom.
So it's for Folsom people and people who went to Folsom and want to remember it by.
Yeah.
And for children, that's a very big thing. You want a trip, you want your child to remember it. So here's this book that has 26 reminders
of the things.
Yeah.
In fact, the S page is Sutter Street.
I figured as much.
And in the background is Sam Hort's, where I met Ben Rice.
Yeah. Which is all the history in Folsom you need to know.
That is it. It should have been in the book. It should have been Sutter Street. This is where I met Ben Rice.
Yeah.
No. That's just for Sutter Street.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it's a fun book. And it was a fun one to do. In the back of the book, there's a map of Folsom, and I put all the letters on where those things are. So if you want to go on your own adventure, go experiment, go find your own things, then you can go check it out.
Yeah. Have you Google mapped to see the total mileage you went A to Z in order? Have you mapped that at all? Is there information that you can give me right now?
Oh, to A to Z, like on a Google map, like the distances between things and all that?
Do you know the total distance if you did it A to Z?
Oh, I don't know that.
Oh, you should learn that. And be like, if you do this A to Z, it's 26.3 miles. It doesn't seem like, because you're in one town, right? It doesn't seem that big, but it's actually 48 miles, interestingly.
And then you could end up here, in the beautiful Biergarten at Out of Bounds. We at least got to bring it back up again.
Yeah,
bring it back
that's
around.
True. We do. And I should probably look at their social media so I can say how to find them. But there's all kinds of things that we could do.
Yes.
But yeah, it's like, oh man, we have to go. Is what I think. As far as we've had anything else you wanted to bring up?
No,
at all.
No, I'm all good.
I know you have 900 other things that you're probably working on. As far as
I think we talked about it all. We talked about it all. I think we did.
Yeah, I have nothing going on. Raising a kid, comedy.
Yeah,
you had a show. You went to a show.
Yeah, I mean you're busy too, Ben.
Yeah,
no doubt.
I don't know what I'm doing.
You talk like you don't have enough to do, but
no. I very much talk like I have too much to do.
Yeah.
But I'm like, I feel like I could do more, or I should be doing different things with my time.
Yeah.
I think is really what it is.
Yeah,
I could be doing much more important things than doing a podcast and doing comedy shows and working a day. I mean, if I could get rid of the day job, I could do so much more.
But I think what you do though is such a people, it's like you're in the people business,
right?
And it's really cool. It's really cool because all this is about people. Like all the things that I do, it's like
and that's how I view it. I'm like, I got reviewed by another podcast that reviews podcasts. Like, why are you letting your guests control this thing? Like, because it's their story. I'm focusing on their story.
Yeah,
nobody cares what I'm doing, and that's the thing I say very often. I'm like, when I pitch comedy shows, like, are you going to bring like 50 people? Like, nobody cares what I'm doing.
Yeah.
Nobody who's following me cares that I have a comedy show. What people care about is that you have a venue that they want to go to, and they need a good reason to go. And beer is not the answer to that. You know, like, you can get beer anywhere at this point. Is there a second thing that you can offer your customer? And that's what I do. And
I think there's something to that.
Then I make sure they enjoy it, and they tell their friends, and people come back.
Yes.
And they bring people with them. That's what I do.
No, it is bringing that other element to it. The people element is really important. Yeah. It's really important. I mean, again, beer, you know, I talk about this with Eric sometimes, you know, breweries, you know, there's, what is there, 80 within 60 miles of here, 100, I don't know.
It's 942 now.
Okay.
Yeah. It just keeps expanding exponentially.
Yeah, it gets crazy. But there's got to be something else than it's got to be more than the beer. It's got to be something else.
The best brewers in the world fail.
Yeah.
You know, because they don't have anything else.
They don't have anything else. And what I always have recognized, like, and when we talked about Claim Steak, was the first time I went in there, I realized that was a people place.
Oh, yeah. All their beers are named after customers. How do you not want to go back to a place where they might name a beer after you?
Right.
Let you pick what kind of beer they're making.
And you walk up to the bar, and there's people there, and it's not that vibe where you get, like, what do you want? It's the person going, hey, let me make room for you so you can order something. And then you go to order something, and they're, you know, they treat you like you're one of the regulars, like you're like all the people that were there.
Yeah.
So I was like, you know, this is the kind of place that is a differentiator. And Marazu used to nail it too when Lauren was there.
Yeah.
I mean,
Mindscape Fermentations opening next Sunday.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. That's right.
In Rockland. So go check that out.
And I'm not saying that they don't do it anymore, but
it's a different person.
It's a different person doing the same kind of thing that Miraz used to do with Lauren. But Lauren when I used to go in there, Lauren was like, you know, just so inviting and, you know, like inviting you into the place and like, you know, ready there to make the experience really good.
Yeah.
And I think that's the big deal with like a lot of like these local breweries, realizing that it's bigger than just the beer and that it is about people and it is about giving them something that makes it an experience rather than just
it's a community.
A stop. Yeah.
It's not a beer community. It's your community.
Right.
You are serving your community, and that's an important thing. I always say this a little bit, like when a brewery fails early, you know it's because they were there for the money.
Yeah.
You can tell. You can walk in there like, they don't care.
Yeah.
This is a location that worked for them. It's not because they wanted this location. Or
Sure.
They care about the people that are around this area.
Yeah.
They're here for money.
Yep.
Because there's money in beer, which is a lie.
Yeah.
And they didn't get the money and they got out. And that's, you can tell every time you walk into a place and it just feels empty and dead inside.
Yep. It
can be full and feel dead.
It feels dead. Yeah. Exactly. It feels
like
dead.
It's inauthentic.
Yeah.
So it's fun. All right, I thought maybe I would order food, but then I decided I wasn't hungry. So I'd have nothing to say about their kitchen here. But I want to thank Out of Bounds for giving us a space to have this conversation.
Yes.
I'm very sorry nobody could make time for it. It happens. I had another beer podcaster hit me up like, well, this brewery keeps canceling on me. They keep last time, yeah, they own a brewery. They have a family. They have lives. If you can't understand that, you shouldn't be doing this.
Yeah.
I deal with cancellations in everything all the time. I get canceled on in comedy. I get canceled on in the podcast. I have to organize meetings for my job. Those get canceled. If you're not adaptable to the fact that, my speaker can't make it, if you don't have the roster to fill that out or the skill set to take over that space,
might be your problem.
Yeah, that's a you thing. That's not that person's thing. We're all human beings. We have no obligation to anyone.
Yeah, this is great. A lot of fun. Beautiful day. Excellent place to hang out and have a conversation. I like it, man.
Yeah. So check out brianwallaceart.com to get more on this
404 error.
Yeah.
There is no such thing.
DOTCOM, obviously. .com, and then the period and then COM.
Check out the art. I would love it.
Yeah. And as far as the books, are those available through that, or are they available elsewhere?
They're available at Ruby's Books.
No online purchases.
Support your local bookstore. Support your local brewery. Support
they're
your local
struggling so hard.
Podcaster. Support your local artists. Do all those things.
I agree with 3 of those. I think you gave 4. I agree with 3 of those things.
The books are there. The books are at the shop. Definitely check it out. Go get the book. If you're got little kids, get the ABC book. Go check out some things in the book. Kind of make the connection between what's in the book and the real life stuff because it's all out there. It definitely is really a lot of fun. So,
now,
Ben, I'm sending you home with one.
Thank you. I appreciate it. I was going to say, I just thought of this. Have you considered talking to local businesses, restaurants, for instance, like Out of Bounds, Craft Kitchen, and Biergarten, about having a few books for kids that come in? There's a small child. They could be reading this book, learning about Folsom history while their parents are getting drunk and eating brunch. It's a thing. It's another thing. Here's I can solve problems for so many people. My own problems I can't fix.
Well, Ben, me and you just need to stick together because I think I need you to help me with some of this.
It's what I do. I had a podcast meetup and I was like, "Oh, your podcast. This is what I would do to get where you need to go." And they're like, what about your podcast? Do you have that? I'm like, I do not have that.
I don't need any advice.
I don't have it. No, I'm like, I need it. I have no idea what I'm doing. I'm like, oh, you need to monetize that? I can absolutely monetize your podcast. This is like an easy thing for me.
Right.
How do you monetize yours? Oh, I don't. I have no idea. I have no idea what to do with mine. But yours has a clear thing. I'm like, I'm stuck in a way. There's 9 million beer podcasts. What's the differentiator? This is true, Brian. I don't know if you know this. I was the first beer podcast to make every episode on site.
First beer podcast at what?
Did every episode on site at a brewery.
Oh.
Nobody had done it.
Really?
Yeah.
Pioneer.
People had done it like once a year, twice a year, like a special event.
Pioneer.
But I was like, no, every episode will be on site.
Pioneer level.
Yeah. And now there's like 70 of them. You know? But I was the first. And that's what I'm going to hang my hat on every day.
Well, what I think you could do now I'm going to tell you what you should do.
Great.
Okay, Ben, this is what you should do. Because I know everybody loves that.
I do need to hear
is that you need to get on those other 70 podcasts and go, we are here with Ben Rice, the first person to ever do a podcast from a brewery.
Well, that's not true. I said people have done like one-offs. But what? To dedicate
not
every
all of them. Yes.
See? Do every episode.
Pioneer.
Yeah.
Pioneer level.
Which is true. That's absolutely true. That's me. Because I Googled it. I'm like, I can't be the only person. So I was like, I listened to him. I'm like, I think I'm the only person doing this.
Well, my next book.
Yeah.
Ben Rice.
No. For kids. Best children's book.
Podcasting.
Yeah. All right. We have to get out of here.
All right.
So besides BrianWallaceArt.com, no.com needed. Where can people find you, find out what you're up to, learn more about organizations you're involved in, fundraising, all that
that's
stuff.
Awesome stuff. Good. So Active 2030, if you're between the ages of 20 and 39, you're interested in getting involved in your local community, helping children's charities, making friends. I cannot recommend it more. There is a women's club too. So if you're a woman between the ages of 20 and 39 or a man between the ages of 20 and 39, both clubs are here active in the area. The Folsom Cordova Community Partnership, the nonprofit I'm with. If you're in the Folsom Rancho Cordova area and you'd like to learn more about that, check that out at thefccp.org. A lot about that organization there. And if you're a Folsom person, big day coming up, September 17th. It's Community Service Day. And I design the T-shirt for that event every year, and I just unveiled the design for 2022, and people are pretty excited about that. But you like to get involved in doing some projects here in Folsom to, do beautification projects or help your neighbors. We got some of those kind of projects too. Really cool stuff. And that's Folsom Community Service Day. You can check it out. You'd probably have to Google it. I don't know. I don't know the website. I don't know all that stuff. I don't know all that stuff.
It's coming up.
But anyway,
more active in
lots of cool stuff. And I don't know, Ben.
Is there a Brian Wallace Art Instagram people can go to check out?
There is.
Work?
It's called Stickboy Wallace. I'm not a good Instagrammer. I think I got my Instagram thing kind of started before I really knew what I was supposed to be doing with it. And it was called Stickboy Wallace. That was a nickname I got in my 20-30 days. I kept it. And so it's still that. It's Stickboy Wallace.
All right, I have to ask.
That's a long story, Ben. We're running out of time.
We're running out of time. Fine. So, Out of Bounds Craft Kitchen and Biergarten can be found at Out of Bounds Folsom Out of Bounds Brewing _Folsom on Instagram. Thank you so much for giving us space to have this conversation, Brian. It was great to actually have a full-fledged conversation where we're like, oh, I got to get back to work. Good seeing you.
We're doing this again. We're doing this again.
For sure. And for Barley Me, you can find Barley Me across social media at Barley Me Pod. You don't forget to check out my basketball and beer podcast, Please Dunk Responsibly. That's at Please Dunk Responsibly on Instagram and Please Dunk Pod on Twitter, PLZ Dunk Pod on Twitter. Also, my girlfriend has a advice podcast that I engineer. It's called It's Crazier in My Business. Check that one out wherever you get your podcasts. Comedy, I do it. I have shows all over the place. Come check them out. They're mostly free. Crooked Lane is paid, but I think we're moving to a free. We're going to try free shortly. So many things. Carmen Lynch is coming to Tilton Mash June 23rd. That's a Thursday. $25 tickets. She's been on Conan. She's been on all the podcasts, all the late nights. Bilingual comic, hilarious. Just an incredible stage presence. So get your tickets on Eventbrite.com. I think that's it. I think that's the spiel. Thanks so much for listening. Oh, wait. This has been episode 164 of Barley and Me with Brian Wallace. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Out of Bounds. Thank you so much. I've been Ben Rice. Thanks so much for listening. Get home safe.